All right, guys. Welcome to Football United TV. Welcome back. I'm here with my very good friend, Rich Dickie, as I met him on Twitter. My very first Twitter friend, actually.
Right.
How are you, my man?
Yeah, not bad, not bad, not bad. It's probably worth telling everyone that we started by heavily abusing each other.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which was quite
Dickie,
funny.
as I met him, gave me a very hard Twitter welcoming.
Yeah, but yeah, it was
and
fun. It was fun. Glad I did it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there was some talent and mutual respect in the banter there.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
led
it
to a
was a good
beautiful friendship.
and it's that when you can take the away games, it's always nice.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we're coming off a weekend where Arsenal finally won a game that excited us, right? Like we won the North London Derby. So this is a unscheduled show. Like it's not in our regular programming, but I
Mhm.
just like ever since I met him, I wanted to do a show with Rich, and here was my chance. I was not gonna do it if we lost. So I'm very, very happy we won.
Yeah.
Uh, So let's get this started with just a general feeling of. I know you weren't able to watch the game live, but I'm assuming by now, like you've.
Thanks to the Wi-Fi. Yeah, no, Wi-Fi was dropping out all over the place, so I wasn't able to get any decent service because I'm not at home at the moment. I'm in Spain. But yeah, no, I did not get to see the game. I think I watched. I think I saw like a replay of the first goal, and I think that's when it cut out. And shortly thereafter, I think I just gave up trying to get back on because who wants to get back on?
Fair enough. I actually missed a good. I mean, I missed my goals. I watched you score against us, but I missed Arsenal's goals as
Yeah,
well. I was doing
we
something,
won't
but I
take
did, and it's frustrating because it looked to be the best half under Arteta. Like under his entire time as Arsenal manager, I don't think we've played as well as in that half. And that was the one I missed. So
I think that's possibly the worst half of football that we've played since Santini. To be honest with you, that was, from what I've heard and from what I've been able to glean, it was not good, and it doesn't surprise me, bearing in mind what I have seen this season. I
yeah,
mean, the first three games of the season being, and it was the whole, Tottenham are top and Arsenal are bottom. We've got 9 points, you've got none. Blah blah blah. But ultimately, you could see in the performances that we weren't brilliant. It was nice to be
yeah.
City, and it was great to be there to watch it, and yeah, lovely. But that was probably our best performance of the season, apart from that first half against Chelsea. Every other
Yeah.
game we have been outplayed to an extent and got quite lucky.
Okay. And who do you think the biggest one? Like, who's the most responsible for that? I know you guys have a lot of beef with your ownership, just like we do, as well.
I mean,
But are you already hating on Nuno?
I mean, I like Nuno, not as a manager. I like him. He's a charming chap, which makes a change from our last head coach.
Yeah,
But I like Nuno. It's just the fact that I don't like. He talked earlier on in his interviews, and there was there was articles about how he likes to train, about the fact that he drills certain patterns of play into his players, so it's just repetitive, session after session doing the same thing, and I just can't help but think that that's not going to work at a club like Tottenham. Because we have players like Harry Kane, we have players like, although he hasn't been playing brilliantly lately, we have players like Dele Alli. These are players who like to improvise. These are players who like to go out there and express themselves, and we've got several of them in the squad, luckily, but they've all been stifled by this repetitive structure that Nuno has in all the patterns of his play. So as a manager, no, I'm not particularly fond of him. I saw Wolves play. There are horses for courses. What Wolves were doing were great because, with respect, they're Wolves. They are now playing better football and they're enjoying it. But they have solidified their position in the Premier League thanks to their relationship with Mendes. They've been able to get themselves quite a few decent players, so they have
Yeah.
no worries about being relegated or anything like that. They can afford to bring in a manager who can play more expansive football, and that's why they outed Nuno. Daniel Levy made a promise after Jose Mourinho said that he wanted the club to return to its core beliefs, its traditions, and to be able to play free-flowing football. And that wasn't happening under Mourinho, and it feels basically what we've got now is kind of like a diet Mourinho. It's just it's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
The players, you can see the players go out there with their heads hanging already. Harry Kane hasn't looked up for it at all, and you could say that's purely because he didn't get his move, or you could say simply because he probably came back to training after the Euros and looked around and thought, what on earth is this? Because apparently training isn't exactly inspiring.
Yeah.
But no, but who I blame ultimately, Daniel Levy. Simple as that. But Nuno is just the next in a long line of appointments. Fabio Paratici, apparently, Daniel Levy said no to Nuno because he wanted someone who would be playing expansive football. Paratici then turned around and said, well, actually, watch these tapes. See what he did at Valencia. At Valencia, they had great wing play. They were playing very expansive football, very attractive, which, to be honest, is easier to do in Spain. So watch these tapes, and there you go. So Daniel Levy said, okay, fine, we'll go with Nuno, simply because he was having a nightmare bringing anyone else in. We've got Nuno. It was very clear that he wasn't a long-term choice, given the fact that he was only given a 2-year-long contract, which happens to coincide with the length of Pochettino's commitment at PSG.
So you're already looking to bring him back?
I really hope that Messi fails on his arse and Pochettino gets sacked for it. I really, really, really want it to happen and get Poch back. He's,
it's interesting you bring that up, because one of my best friends, he's from Brazil, but I went to a French school, right? So one of my best friends, Antoine, he's a PSG supporter. He hates Pochettino, so he's probably going to be addressing that tomorrow. I don't think he's going to be lasting long in there. I really don't.
No, and I don't. And to be honest, Pochettino, was making sounds in summer that he really does not like the structure at PSG. He does not like working for or under Leonardo. So Pochettino worked very hard at Tottenham to get rid of the head coach tag, and then became manager. So he shrugged off that he's just the coach thing, became a manager of a major club, did incredibly well, finally started to get some clout with the chairman so that he could actually go out and buy the players that he chose, rather than being given players that the chairman said were cheap enough. And then obviously he was sacked, but he then goes to PSG, and he's got to work under another director of football. So it doesn't surprise me that he's not happy there. His entire family still live in North London. So it wouldn't surprise me that if he's absolutely gagging to come back.
Yeah. Do you think that's the only thing, though? Because I didn't think we'd be talking about Pochettino this much, actually. But I'm curious to know like what your thoughts are in this. Do you think it comes to Leonardo and that's it? But also, like, I should point out that at Tottenham, like, he created stars, right? Like most of the players that became exactly like I don't think Tottenham signed any like huge players, right? Like they became huge players inside Tottenham, and now he's like, look at that attack, like three of the best of the like 5 best players in the world, playing in the same attack together. So it's a very different feeling, right?
Yeah, no, he after he came to Spurs, people have talked a lot recently about Nuno's start and comparing it with Poch, because Poch didn't have a great start at Spurs, but it was always very, very clear what he was trying to do. There were basics, there were fundamentals, and you could see even in games that we were losing what he was trying to do. He outed players like Capu, players like Yunus Kabul, and got rid of players that he didn't feel were on message with what he was trying to do. Aaron Lennon went out the door, Tom Huddleston went out the door, and we then brought in his players, or some players that he was happy to work with. He stumbled. Well, the club stumbled onto Kane, which he was obviously happy to pick up the baton and work with Kane. Dele Alli that came in and was doing incredibly well. Ericsson, who was already there but was starting to really properly flow in, and things picked up very, very nicely for Pochettino at that time, and he developed some of the younger players. And was doing incredibly well. I don't think that Pochettino, when he goes to a club like PSG, that's not a club where they're going to say, right, our plan is over the next 5 years. They go there and it's a case of, right, we don't win the Champions League this season, you're sacked. And
Absolutely.
that's, and fair enough because the amount of money that they have spent, if that's the way they want to do it, fine, because as we've seen with Chelsea and City, at some point they're going to win everything. I mean, City haven't quite got to the Champions League yet, but they will. It's just a matter of time. With the amount of money
absolutely.
the talent they've got, they will get there. So they have every right to just say, yeah, do this or else. Which is why I thought this summer it would be a perfect opportunity for them to get Conte and let Poch go back to Spurs. I don't understand why they didn't do that. Conte is a manager you bring in to win now, which is why he turned down Tottenham.
Absolutely.
Whereas Pochettino is someone who wants to build something. So, it would be great to get Poch back because he's got players now. He's got Sarr, who's coming next summer. Gil, you've got Reguilon, who's done not brilliantly this season, but he's still a very good young left back. You've got a lot of very good young players at Tottenham now who are either on the edge of breaking through it or have already come into the team, but just need stronger leadership. And Pochettino with that would be incredible. In my opinion.
I think like this. I mean, I should say that I think you guys are about to lose some of your main players as well if you don't start winning. Just like Arsenal as well. I see the same situation. But
who are your main players who you're going to lose?
Us?
Yeah.
I think we're in slight lesser trouble than you because our main players are quite young, so I think they're a little more patient. I think we're about to lose like Lacazette. We're about to lose Aubameyang. I think these guys are about to leave.
I actually do feel that you would be a hell of a lot better getting rid of those two players.
Perhaps.
They don't. To me, they don't seem like they want to be there. Aubameyang signed that contract because it was because I think Arteta had just come in fairly recently, and it looked like things were going to go brilliantly, and they were going to go on and win things and compete in the Champions League, blah blah blah. And Aubameyang wanted to be a part of that because of his affection for the club. None of that has happened. So he's probably thinking, I really shouldn't have signed that contract, and I should be off. Lacazette is being called. He's being called away all over Europe. I think Inter Milan were the last club that I heard were being linked with him. No, Juventus were it, I think. I personally, if we can get a decent fee for Kane, I'd be quite happy to see him go. But I think he's a wonderful striker. The best striker that I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt that I've ever seen. But after the way that he's behaved over the summer, which I suppose you can't necessarily blame him for, I've got no affection for him anymore. So I'd be quite happy to see him go. And I do think it would be hugely beneficial for whoever comes in after Nuno if they get rid of Kane and they've got like 100 million plus
to spend
to rebuild the team.
That'd be massive.
But I don't think there's any other big players that Spurs who would be imminently looking to leave. I mean, Son, he'll die at that club. he loves Spurs for some weird reason. He's just signed his new contract. He absolutely loves the club. We love him, and so I don't see Son leaving anytime soon. You could say Dele's a big player. He might leave, but then there's a lot of Spurs players.
I was mainly talking about Son and Kane. Right, Rich, just give me 1 second to show some love to these comments here. Rob Ross and Anthony are talking a lot, and they're two huge Arsenal fans, that huge supporters of the channel as well. Never seen the Emirates like it before. It was incredible. Every section on their feet singing. Yeah, it's usually quite quiet, so it was nice. You see, Tottenham was like, yeah. Anthony's a joker, him. Big up cousin. Big up my man. We have Brighton next game. Hopefully, we'll get 3 points out there. I think it's going to be a tough game.
Brighton will be a
Rob
very
seems
tough
to agree with me. Yeah. Right. Right. Here he spoke on Nuno, Anthony. Trouble is you have to give Nuno time like we did with Arteta, and I'm
So
Arteta
as
out.
an Arsenal fan, right?
He's an Arsenal fan, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he wants us to give Nuno time.
That's fair
That's
enough.
it's not. The thing is that I would understand. I'd be sitting here saying that I am genuinely quite optimistic for the future if we were playing anything like expansive football and it was just a case of waiting for the gears to kick in.
Yeah.
We aren't. We're playing negative football, anti-football, and we're losing. We're doing it badly. So literally, Burnley are a better team than us at the moment because they play anti-football and they do it a hell of a lot better than we do. So, so that's why I think Nuno has got to go. I think you could give him time, but then there's probably quite a lot of Arsenal fans who still want Arteta out because one game beating Spurs, I mean, it's hardly a feather in your cap at the moment, is it? But it's you could say that. I mean, I admire Arsenal for the time they've given Arteta. As I was saying to you yesterday, I admire Arsenal for the time they've given Arteta. And he, by all accounts, he's an exceptional coach. But Nuno, no, he's not. He might be a good manager, but he's not a Tottenham manager.
Yeah, he's not a good fit. That's the thing. Like most of the good things he's done, I think he was playing three in the back, right? That's not really formation that suits you guys, and I don't think the players that you guys have like suit that formation. Not even the forward players because they have to act different as well.
I mean, we went into the summer wanting to get two centre halves. Obviously, we lost Toby Alderweireld, and we didn't. We got Romero, who's a very good player. Looks to be a genuinely classy defender, very aggressive, but he apparently wants to play for Argentina, which pretty much means that he's not going to be able to play for Tottenham for a while. So that's that.
What do you mean?
If he plays for Argentina, it means that he goes away on international break. He comes home. He's then got last time he ended up having to go to Croatia with Giovanni Lo Celso. We missed.
Because of COVID rules, got you.
So he will go. He'll go off, and we won't get him back, and that's that. But he's chosen. He wants to go and play for Argentina. So I respect him for that. But ultimately, it's Well, Kane would be depressed. No, I think it's Aubameyang would be happy. It's probably the best performance he's had since he signed his contract, so it makes him look good, puts him in the window.
All right, man. I want you mentioned something, and well, I want to start by saying I like you very much. Like you're a good friend because I'm about to start, the actual Arsenal versus Tottenham chat here. Because you said Pochettino found a way to become a manager, like a full manager at a major club. What makes you guys a major club?
The fact that we were the first English team to win a European trophy, so that's pretty major.
It is.
That's we were the first club to win a double post-war double. The Premier League era has not been kind to us. There's no question of that. It is, but we have finished in the top four quite often recently. The 2 seasons, I think the 16, 17, 17 and 17, 18, we scored more points over those 2 seasons than any other club in the Premier League. And we still didn't win the thing. So whilst we don't have trophies to show for it, I don't think there's any doubt at all that we have been in the top quarter of the Premier League and become a mainstay there for quite some time. And regardless of whether or not we are successful, it is you can't say that a team that has never been relegated from the Premier League, which of course Arsenal haven't as well, and Everton and Man United, and I think one at Liverpool as well. But we have been a founding member of the Premier League. We've never been relegated. We've been there, and for the most part, we've been in the top half. So I would say the same about Everton. I think they're a major football club. I don't think they haven't been successful, but historically, they're a huge club. You could argue that Chelsea aren't a major club, but of course now, during the Premier League era, they have been incredibly successful thanks to the money that they've spent. So you'd have to call them a major club. Of course you would. But yeah, Tottenham are.
Yeah, they just won 2 Premier Champions Leagues, right? Like it's tough.
I mean,
to count them out now.
You can't. But then again, so have Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. If it's just a glimpse in time, right? Like if it's just like they're great for 20 years, then they're gone. Like sure, people will eventually forget about them, but I don't see that happening to Chelsea. It could happen to City because they don't have following, right? But Chelsea, like they're quiet.
Man City, I mean, conversations recently about Man City's following, and about there was a guy I was talking to on Twitter about the fact that who cares what if they get fans in or not. It's like, well, it's quite a big deal if they get fans in. I think it was their last Champions League game, and Pep Guardiola's there turning around to the fans and saying, "Look, please turn up. We need you." That's disgraceful. That is embarrassing. I mean, people. I mean, we take we take a piss out of each other. You take the piss out of our stadium because it looks like a toilet bowl, and we take the piss out of your stadium because it sounds like a library. That's that's fine. It is just. But ultimately, at least we actually have fans who turn up. Whereas City, although they have this whole thing about they want to boycott the Champions League, etc., etc. To not turn up to a Champions League game, even if they think it's only, one of the Red Bull clubs, I can't remember what it was a Red Bull Leipzig. It was, wasn't it?
The better one's Leipzig, yeah.
Yeah, even if it was only Red Bull Leipzig, who are still a pretty big club. Yeah. They're essentially German Man City.
That's a good comparison. That makes sense.
Well, it is. Leipzig were nothing. They were like a park team. And then that owner went in and just tore up every financial rule book in German football and took them up to the Bundesliga. So that's why they are. I think it's fair to say they are thoroughly despised in Germany.
They are. You know that RB stands for Rasenballsport in German, which means like sport played on grass. That's what it means, pretty much. Like they just turned because they couldn't name it Red Bull, so Rasenballsport, like grass sport.
Yeah,
that's it. It's silly. It's silly.
Yeah, it is silly, and they are. They're. I tell you one thing I am not happy about is that they managed to get, and I'm saying it, and I'm realizing that I can't remember the guy's name, but they got a player from Barcelona this summer, and I can't remember his name. Elisha Mariba, that's it, Mariba, and he was Elisha Mariba. He's going to be a hell of a player. I was gutted we didn't get him. Gutted. I truly do think he's going to be a hell of a player. But then ultimately, what he's going to do, he's going to get some first team football and then move on from Red Bull. But then he probably would have done that to us anyway. But at least we'd have had.
You gotta take your hat out to their scouting though, because it's just phenomenal, right? Like the players that Red Bull finds are just ridiculous, and I'm talking all Red Bull teams in Brazil as well.
They have obviously they have some great scouts from France. They've had some unbelievable talent from France come through the Red Bull team. They've done incredibly well there. It's whether or not once the money runs out, if the money runs out. Talking about Chelsea and City, I mean, if City owners were to disappear, they have got that network that they have built. They are now they've got New York City, they've got clubs set up all around the world, so they have got something now that will last forever. Whereas if Roman Abramovich turns around and says, "Actually, you know what? I've got the arse with this. I'm gone." Chelsea will struggle because, of course, yes, they have been a success in the Premier League. Yes, they have played Champions League football, blah, blah, blah. But having that safety net of Roman Abramovich means that if push comes to shove and they're going up against a club for a player, say Haaland next summer, and they're going up against Man United and Man City and PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, trying to get hold of Haaland, sorry. if they do that, they can afford, knowing full well that they've got Abramovich backing them, they can afford to just turn around and go, okay, we'll offer you 100 grand a week more than anyone else will offer you.
Yeah,
they can do that. And it's I mean, it may not be what is going to motivate Haaland, but at least they can do that. Once Abramovich is gone, that's over.
true. What I'm saying is it's more likely that Chelsea finds another exciting owner than City, or that they're able to stand on their own. Unlike, like, I think City's screwed.
Yeah.
Like, City is done. Like, if they get abandoned by a country, they're done. Like, they're gonna become a medium club.
I mean, I think that what they've done, the infrastructure that they've set up at that club is pretty impressive. It is. They have gone about it in, whilst they still flout financial fair play regulations, as is the common understanding of what those regulations should be. As they continue to flout them, they have at least set up a system which means that they should survive. I don't think that they will be able to continue to do what they're doing now. And given the way that their fans behave, if they stop doing what they're doing now, and the fans suddenly aren't turning up anymore, then that's it. But there was a time when Man City were getting relegated to the third tier of English football, and they were and they had 20,000 fans turning up every week. That's incredible. That is support. So where's that gone?
That's all of them, though.
Where's that gone? Say again.
That's all of them, though.
That's pretty much all. Yeah, they're the only ones that are turning up now. Yeah, yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for the support. 6 people watching right now. If you can like, share, and subscribe, that's going to be awesome. The legendary Talking Mew, welcome back in the building, man. Big up, cuz. A lot of big ups here. Solo, legend as well. Right, there was one here that I wanted to. Static as well, another great supporter. All right, this comment here, it's a little dirty comment from Anthony. That's usually the way he talks, but it segues fine to to another thing I wanted to say, because as I told you before the show.
Fine, and that's how you equate being fine. Then that's absolutely fine. I make no judgments at all. Your private life is your private life.
All right. As I told you right before we went live, we have a show about Arsenal and United that's supposed to be talking to fans all over the globe, right? We're quite successful in that area. Like, we usually find someone from every continent, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it would be lovely to do one on Tottenham. And I want to run a couple of names that I came up with.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see which one you like the most. And the first one's based on this one. It's a little dirty as well. I feel like Anthony made it and just sent it to my mind. Cocks and balls everywhere. How does that ring? Do you think people will understand that it's a Tottenham show?
That's fine. I don't think it's particularly the whole cock thing. It doesn't. It's something that we take that. It's not really that offensive. So I'm happy with that. That's fine. We can do that. No problem at all.
Yeah, when people take jokes like that, it sucks, right? Like when they're just not affected.
Which one's a cock or which one's a ball? It's just like, welcome to the show. Which are you, cock or ball? That's not. It's not a happy welcome show.
All right, a word play on worldwide, right? Worldwide bother.
Yeah. You got to ask. That's a fair question. In all honesty, it is. If you are in South Africa and you are, you've got it. It is a fair question. In all honesty, it's a little insulting, but fair. I don't think that you get very many Spurs fans watching that.
That's very fair. Okay. Joking aside, the names are not funny enough, by the way, and did not cause the laughter that I was expecting. So I just want to say that if we ever do that, it's going to be so awesome to have you. It's been a pleasure. We're still going to go for plenty of time. I'm just saying halfway through, I'm enjoying myself very thoroughly. So we'd love to have you back on the channel as often as you want.
That'd be great. Great, thank you.
Just shouting out a couple more. But I'm gonna start talking while I put some comments here. Another big thing that happened yesterday. It wasn't only the North London Derby, but it was quite cool because it was also the Emerson versus Tomiyasu game, right? Because we wanted Emerson at one point, and you guys
Yeah.
ended up taking him, and you guys looked, and you
Hmm.
guys looked like you were about to get Tomiyasu. You gave up. You got Emerson. What's First of all, how did you feel originally about that? Because I can tell you, with the Brazilian bias, right? Like I wanted Emerson more than I wanted Tomiyasu. I had no idea who Tomiyasu was, so that's only
Yeah.
fair. I'd
Yeah.
seen I'd seen Emerson play with the national team. Even like he's good at Betis, which I follow a little more. He was a gangster, great player. I think he played well in Brazil as well. I forget where, but he was always a good player, exciting going forward at least.
Mm.
And Tomiyasu I didn't know. So I want to get your initial thoughts on that. Obviously, with they're kind of working like with opposing curves right now because Tomiyasu is off to a great start, probably our best player so far, and
Hmm.
Emerson's off to a shaky start. So I want to get your feelings from like the day you signed him and from now.
The day we signed him, he was coming out with all these wonderful comments about the fact that he can't wait to meet us, and he's so happy to play for Tottenham. And unfortunately, Tottenham fans are really they're suckers for that. You don't. It's like every single player is taken to the same PR media training. Like these are the sound bites for you to come out with when you sign for your new club. And Emerson played the game well, but so yeah, it was all right. And then we were hearing about the fact that he had done incredibly well for Betis. Before that, though, apparently his time was not great. But Betis was the club where he truly came to the fore and performed. So Tomiyasu, when we were being linked with him, I had done some research on him and the fact that when we originally were linked, it was basically we're signing the Japanese central defender Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
And I thought that because we were meant to be going after two powerhouse centre halves, two big name centre halves, I was disappointed. When I found out that he could play right back, I thought I'm up for that. He's a decent utility player in that case. Bring him in. The more you read, the more you watch on YouTube and stuff. YouTube is a channel that could make me look good, but if you edit it nicely. But if you the more YouTube you watch, the more you read, you find that Tomiyasu is actually a pretty handy player. So I would have been happy for us to get Tomiyasu. Emerson came in very late in the day, so it was one of those things that Brian Heel, we hadn't. I had heard of him. I'd seen a little bit of him, and I thought, good young player, but he just wasn't on our radar as fans at all. And then suddenly, Lamella's gone, Hill is in, and it's like, what? Where did that come from? It was because it wasn't rumored at all. And then suddenly, Emerson, bang, he's at the club, he signed. So yeah, it was similar to the Hill deal. So you do all your reading and you go on Twitter and you see what people are saying. You go on YouTube and so yeah, you're quite positive about Emerson. He was certainly from the Kyle Walker mold than the Kieran Trippier mold. But at the moment, he is he's making Serge Aurier look like a good player. A lot of fans are trying to be very sympathetic. Obviously,
Does he make Aurier look like a committed player?
Well, at least Serge Aurier stood up. He stood up and he was up for it. It wasn't always brilliant, but he stood up. So I think the problem that we've got with Emerson is the fact that our fullbacks, for one reason or another, and it's been very frustrating this season, especially when Tanganga was playing a right back, they seem to be told, do not cross the halfway line. Sergio is the only fullback that we have who seems to be allowed to cross the halfway line. If we are working the ball into the corners, then yes, you can come and join in, overlap and cross. But other than that, you stay in your own half, which is the complete antithesis to what we had when we had Danny Rose and Kyle Walker. So it's quite frustrating to watch Emerson, a player who you can see has got the tools to bomb forward and do his job. He's probably not being able to do that. And maybe in his frustration, he's falling over a lot. But he did spend a lot of time on the floor against Chelsea. I remember that vividly. And he wasn't great. He wasn't great at all.
All right. Who, like, if you're to guess, if you're to take a wild guess right now, because they both just got here.
Yeah.
By the way, Brazilians do tend to take a little longer to adapt. I think we're a little less adaptable when it comes to culture, I think. And our language barrier is also a little stronger because, you know, South American players, they're usually not they usually studied very little, so learning a new language, it's always tougher as well on us and all of that. So I understand that, but if you were to guess, who do you think is going to turn out to be the better player? They're very different, right? But who do you?
Yes, they are. I mean, it depends on an awful lot. I mean, Emerson could. I think Emerson has the higher ceiling.
I think so too, actually.
In the current situation, I'd say there's no contest. Tomiyasu will definitely become and go on to be the better player. However, that said, if we make a change, if Nuno goes or if Nuno stays, if there is a change in attitude toward the way that we play our fullbacks, be that from a new manager or from within the club, from Nuno himself, then potentially Emerson could go on and do very, very well. Like I say, I do think he's got a higher ceiling than Tomiyasu. But Arteta is a manager who the club clearly believe in. He's starting to turn fans around to what he's trying to do. The players clearly believe in what he's doing. He's got a good body of young players there at the club, so that will provide Tomiyasu with the fundamentals, the basics, the foundation to go on and become a very, very decent player. We don't have anything like a foundation at that club, at our club, to do any of that for any of our players at the moment.
I mean, I'm not sure a lot of Arsenal fans would agree with what you just said, that Arteta is beginning to turn us around. I was Arteta in for most of the time. Like I've
read. I'm not suggesting that he is flavour of the month simply because you beat Spurs, but it never does any manager any harm to when they win a North London derby. It will always get them an extra few weeks if there's, it will get them some, but and some favour. Arsenal drubbed us, so that should get him some leeway, surely. But from what I have read, there are some fans who are starting to believe in what could be happening at that club.
Yeah. No, that's only fair. Anthony has a question for you. Not sure how serious the question is, but where do you think Harry Kane's gonna go? Do you think he's gonna stay in England? Do you think he's gonna be going to Real Madrid?
This season, he's still got another 2 years. However, including this season, he's got 3 years left. However, if purely hypothetical, if his contract was to end next summer, then I don't think there's any doubt he'd be going off to Man City. I think that Harry Kane, I don't think that he is the Spurs fan that people make him out to be. But I do believe
he's an Arsenal fan.
No.
He's an Arsenal fan. Everybody knows Harry Kane's an Arsenal fan.
No, he isn't.
Someone said that.
Fan. He's come out and said it. There is a picture of him. There is a picture of him wearing an Arsenal shirt and I'll tell you now, if Ailey takes up football, all right, and the only scouts that want to come and watch her and give her a training, give her some kind of apprenticeship scheme to go and play for Arsenal ladies, I'm saying, yes, of course, go and do it. And if she turns around to me and says, but Daddy, I hate Arsenal. Well, don't worry about that. It's okay. We'll do what Jamie O'Hara did and what Harry Kane did, and we'll kick them out as soon as they start to become good. We'll just move you across to Spurs, and everything will be fine. But that's basically what happened to Harry Kane. He essentially was let go by Arsenal. Arsene Wenger has come out and said that he's frustrated that that Harry Kane was let go. But yeah, no, he was never. His whole family are Spurs, he's always been Spurs. Definitely not Arsenal, but I don't think that he loves the club in the way that a lot of fans think that he does. I think that he's been. So I do think that, although he does have a great affection for the club, I think that affection for the club is enough to make sure that he certainly doesn't go and sign for Chelsea. I don't think he would ever do that. He's never going to leave the Premier League because he wants Alan Shearer's record. So it's either Man United or Man City. And if you were given the opportunity, who would you want to play for? Would you want to play for Pep Guardiola? Who would you want to play for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I would imagine that most people would say I would quite like to play for Pep Guardiola. So, I mean, the one thing that goes against Man City,
the ring from Lord of the Rings,
that he's probably going to leave at the end of his contract.
Yeah,
I don't know how long he's got left there, but he would. Yeah. So yeah, I would think that Kane, if his contract was up at the end of next season, he would go to Man City. I mean, if Man City come back in with an offer next summer, similar to the one that they came up with this summer, then yeah, I would imagine that we'd accept it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get your point, and it's a very valid point that he wants to stay in the Prem. But PSG is about to lose Mbappe, right? Like, he's leaving at the end of the season. I could see them going hammer, like going nuts for Kane, like with ridiculous value. PSG
going after Kane.
I can see that happening like big time.
I say this as someone who used to love Kane very, very much, and I still, of course, he's a Spurs player, he's a Spurs legend, despite the fact that he hasn't won anything. I do love him still, although that is a little bit tinged. I don't think that Harry Kane is the kind of guy to go to Paris and play football. I don't see Harry Kane speaking French. I don't see. I mean, I can barely understand him when he's speaking English. I don't see him going to France. Potentially, I mean, he could potentially go to Spain because obviously the lure of Barcelona or Real Madrid is big for any player. But I don't see him going to PSG. If Pochettino manages to turn things around at PSG, and Mbappe goes and they're not able to get Haaland. Remember, Haaland, I think, is available for 75 million quid next summer.
Yeah.
So if you had a choice
80 million euros. Yeah, that's right. Right.
If you've got a chance to get in Haaland, who's, 21?
He's ridiculous.
Or Harry Kane at the age of 29, which he will be next summer, 29, 30 next summer, you go with Haaland. Of course you do. Haaland is a phenomenal player. He's a animal. So if you were to ask me now, Kane at his best now or Haaland, who would you pick? I'd
still go with Haaland, man. That kid impresses me.
I mean, he's frightening. I mean, he doesn't have the maturity of Kane, and Kane obviously does more. He's got his all-round game is incredible. But actually, if you just want a striker, you go for Haaland every day of the week. If you want a player, you go. Charlie Kane was an Arsenal fan. Harry wasn't. Charlie Kane was an Arsenal fan. Okay, that's why. No, I think Bergkamp has always denied being a Tottenham fan. I always thought he was. Bergkamp denied it. He said he wasn't a Tottenham fan. He just loved Glenn Hoddle. Darren Bent was definitely an Arsenal fan, and so was Jermaine Defoe.
Oh, yeah. Jermaine
Defoe was an Arsenal fan as well.
All right. That became a big topic here. I did not think it was going to become. Just players supporting the teams.
No, that's it though, isn't it? I mean, Jermaine Defoe now, if you were to ask him, if you to ask him who would you like to win now, Tottenham or Arsenal in a North London derby, he would absolutely put his life down and say Tottenham. He's Tottenham through and through now. But yeah, he grew up an Arsenal fan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But some players stay faithful. Dude, Thiago Silva, he loves Fluminense. Like whenever he's in Brazil, he's in Fluminense. He's always like doing videos with us. He plans on coming back, even though we suck nowadays. There's so many teams that are doing so much better than us, but he still wants to come back. He's gonna be so rich by the time he comes back to Brazil, though. Like, why does he care?
Thiago Silva, that is a player. I was absolutely staggered when PSG were able to get hold of Ibrahimovic and Thiago Silva and took them away from AC Milan. I was absolutely staggered. Thiago Silva is amazing. One thing I found quite funny against Chelsea, and this is probably the main reason why I want Nuno gone. Against Chelsea this season, we played, instead of Harry Kane, our big, robust striker, instead of putting him up against Thiago Silva, which would allow us to at least have a chance of holding the ball up.
Yeah.
Because we started Ndombele. So when you've got a player like Ndombele in midfield, as well as Dele, you want someone to hold the ball up so that the midfielders can run past the striker. Absolutely. Now, Ndombele and Dele, that's what they do. That is their game. But instead, we played Harry Kane on the left, and he kept coming back into midfield. And up against Thiago Silva as our target man, Son. I could not believe that we had done that, and then we had Giovanni Lo Celso on the right hand side as well, which was
that's a huge mess up.
Thiago Silva absolutely just
probably kept him in his dude, because that what you're saying is funny to me, because Kane, like, he might very well be the best striker in the world at doing exactly what you just described, right? Like, we call it pivot. I think you call it that as well, right? Like doing the pivot when you're
he's essentially, we call it like a target man. So he would be someone who can bring. So Fernando Llorente and Peter Crouch, players like that, players who can just hold the ball up and lay it off. Harry Kane does that. He does it very well with his back to goal, but then he can turn players as well, which is why he is such a good player.
Yeah,
his passing game started to develop because when he was holding that ball up, he didn't want to just lay it off to the attacking midfielder or to try and turn and put in the advanced forward. It was he wanted to spray the ball across to the other side of the pitch, and his passing was just incredible. And it honestly was. It was like seeing Teddy Sheringham with a little bit more pace. His passing range is absolutely phenomenal, and it has been for a while. I mean, we only talk about the fact it's like it's a recent development in his game from last season because of all those assists, but he's had it for a long time.
No, he's so good at that, dude. And Thiago Silva, man, and that's from 2008, like to Fluminense days. His anticipation is ridiculous. So putting someone like Son against him, like, it's never gonna work, dude. You can't outrun Thiago Silva because his movement is flawless.
Exactly, and that was the plan. The plan was to isolate Thiago Silva by making sure that Son was running him, and Son. But then when you do that, you need to play the ball into channels. You need to play or at least give him something to run onto. All we were doing was lumping the ball up to him, and he was getting just knocked over every single time the ball went up because Thiago Silva's twice his size. It was embarrassing, but no, Thiago Silva is an incredible player, and it is. Credit to him, the fact that he's still able to play at that level at the age of 36 is incredible as a defender.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely, dude. I mean, time flies when you're having a good time. Or like we're already 50 minutes in.
Indeed.
I was a little worried. Like, are we gonna run out of topics? No, like we could talk for a lot longer, and I still want to talk for a couple of minutes. But dude, like you're a hit. You're a hit. Like everyone seems to love you here. So I really do hope you come back. Like, let's do a Tottenham show, a North London Derby show as well, like just North London show every now and then. We'll figure something out. But I had something in mind. I wanted to do like a little segment here for us called DQ, depressing questions, because we're two clubs that like we have much bigger ambitions than we have possibilities right now. Like
Yeah, yeah.
like
Well,
Arsenal. I can talk
that's
for.
Premier League, but carry
Hmm?
on. But at the moment, for us, it's staying in the Premier League. But carry on.
Yeah, but see, like Arsenal fans, we do have this self entitlement. Like we think we deserve to be in better places. I'm not sure it's
Mm.
exactly the same thing with you. I don't know a lot of Tottenham fans. I'm from Brazil. Not a lot of you
We
guys here.
are accused of being delusional and thinking that we should be and everything like that. And then there was the whole that European tournament that is just, I can't even bring myself to name it. But the fact that we were involved in that, and they think that Tottenham, but they're delusional, and it's the thing. If you actually speak to any Tottenham fan, we don't want to spend millions upon millions on players. We don't believe that we're going to win anything. We would like to be able to watch a team that plays decent football and have a chance of winning something. Obviously, it's been a long time since we have won anything, so there are a lot of Tottenham fans, especially the younger generation, who probably chose to support Tottenham on the back of what Pochettino was able to achieve. The fact that we were in the top four regularly, the fact that we were playing very good football, we got to a Champions League final. So there were a lot of kids around the age of 8 or 9 back then who were choosing to support the club. Those kids now are 16, 17, and they are obviously, they don't remember what it was like in the 90s. They have no clue who Bill Nicholson is. So, and they think that football started in 1992. So they are desperate to win something, and they don't particularly care. So they worship Jose Mourinho,
Yes.
And they hate Daniel Levy, because Daniel Levy won't buy the big glamorous players. And the one big glamorous manager we sacked a week before we got to a League Cup final. Yeah, it is strange to see those fans come through and speak like that. But all we want really is to have a chance to compete and to play decent football. If we win something, wonderful. But we would rather do it organically rather than doing it the way that PSG have done it, the way that Red Bull Leipzig have done it. We don't want to buy anything.
Leipzig hasn't won anything, but the way
No,
Chelsea, City, or
they have ascended to that position, and so if they do win anything, everyone will think it's a false achievement. It's like Manchester City; all of their achievements, they ring a little bit hollow, because if it weren't for the money they've spent, there's a good chance they may not have even stayed in the Premier League for this long, because they were a club that was going up and coming down, and that was that. So obviously they were a lot more stable just before that, but ultimately there's no guarantee that they would have won a damn thing if it weren't for all the money they've spent. Certainly not Chelsea, although again they were on a good footing at the time that Abramovich came in. But it's no, we would much rather do things organically. I don't think that we're entitled. But Arsenal fans, there is a sense of it simply, and when you watch Arsenal fan TV, I can see the frustration, and they think that they're entitled to be back in the top four and win the league and everything like that, because they've had it very recently. They've had it in the Premier League era. It's in recent memory, and they want it back. They can see how far they've fallen. So I understand their desire and their sense of entitlement. But ultimately, you've got to understand that there was a time that Arsenal weren't anywhere near the club. I mean, the thing is, there's a part of me that thinks, you got what you deserved, because you whinged and whinged and whinged about Wenger, and then you finally outed him, and now there were still Arsenal fans who just go, no, we did the right thing, he had to go. Well, actually, I don't think I think he'd be in a hell of a lot better position now if he'd stayed a little longer. He may not be the manager now, because he may wanted to retire by now. But you definitely would have been in a much better position by now. Look at the amount of money you didn't spend, and yet he continued to keep you competitive. He continued to keep you in that top 4 or 5, despite the fact that you weren't spending money. So he was doing a remarkable job. And, you wanted him out, he's gone, and now you're gutted.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I did want him gone, but I understand what you're saying, though.
Hmm.
Okay, so that was all too because I have a couple of questions that for us they're going to be depressing. Who do you think's going to finish higher on the table this season? This is a simple question. Like, who do you think's going to do better this season? I know that whatever team
As
you choose is probably because the other one sucked more, not because the other one did well, right?
as as things stand now, I would say Arsenal are going to finish higher. I
Okay.
think you've got. I think this win, from this weekend, will give you a platform to build on. It wouldn't surprise me to see them throw it away and for them to lose their next couple of games. It wouldn't surprise me at all because that's just the kind of teams that we both are at the moment.
Hmm.
But I'm going to be there on Sunday to watch us play Aston Villa, and I fully expect us to get beaten. I fully expect us to get beaten by Aston Villa.
Villa are doing well.
Yeah,
That's a
of
good
course.
thing to
So
happen.
I think that I would say as things are now, if Nuno stays till the end of the season, yeah, there's no doubt that Arsenal will finish above us, no doubt at all. But if
All
we
right.
are to a decisive and extreme change, then I think it will be us. Obviously, depending on who we choose.
Okay. Who's getting sacked first, Arteta or Nuno?
Nuno, one hundred
I'm not
percent.
asking who you want, like to be sacked
No,
first.
no, Nuno, one
Nuno.
hundred percent. Nuno,
Okay.
definitely. I think that Arsenal have shown that they actually believe in the project that Arteta is trying to lead. And it genuinely does seem as though that the hierarchy at that club actually believe in him. And there's already talk that Daniel Levy is quite pissed off at Fabio because Daniel Levy did not want to appoint Nuno. It was Fabio that talked him into it. And obviously things are going exactly the way that Daniel Levy thought it would go. We're playing negative football and things aren't going well. Don Fabio talks him round. So yeah, I think the only reason why we haven't actually sacked him already, or that we might not sack him anytime soon, is simply because we don't have many viable options. It's very early in the season across all of Europe. I mean, I don't know. I think Eric Ten Hag, I don't think he's going to leave Ajax. I mean, we could go through a list of potential managers for
Yeah.
Tottenham, which would be incredibly tedious. But I personally would like Gallardo from. Is it River? He's at River now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's a good manager, and it's a
Yeah,
good follow up for Pochettino as well. That makes sense. That just
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. I mean, he plays good football. He would come in, and at the very least, he would be entertaining.
Yeah, dude, he's pretty much the only manager that's been able to, like compete with the Brazilians as of lately.
And
Because, like,
I loved him as a player. I thought he was brilliant.
yeah, all right. Who's getting back to Champions League football first? Because
I think
I'm
we will.
assuming that's a couple years down the road. But
I think we will.
you think you will? All right.
I don't know. Actually, it's that's on a toying cost. Toying cost. It's on a toying cost. I would say that's difficult to answer. I think we will, because I'm hopeful that our next manager will come in and do what Pochettino did basically and start something. But he has got there are much better foundation at the club now with the young players that we have mixed in with players like Lucas Moura and Son. You never know, maybe Kane will stick around for a little bit longer. And so, yeah, there is that. I think Arsenal are going to lose Aubameyang. I think they're going to lose Lacazette. And, I mean, you may do incredibly well and go out and sign another Marouane Chamakh, which would just be amazing for you. And then you could get back there. Who knows?
All right, fair enough. And last question? Who's winning a title first?
I don't think it's just not in our makeup to do it. So it just
Yeah.
isn't. I think a part of me. I mean, I don't think that we have it in us whilst Enoch and Daniel Levy are at the club. We don't have to do it because I mean, I could rant about this, and if we're going to do a Tottenham show, then I will, and I will rant for longer than we've been on there now. But it is, we've got a chairman who owns 30% of the club, and Joe Lewis owns however much he owns. But Daniel Levy works for Joe Lewis, and that's that. Now, Enoch, obviously, as we all know, stands for the English National Investment Company. Now, when they took over the club, even though I was obviously 20 years younger, I looked at that and I just thought, okay, well, they're in it for the money. Hopefully, they'll be in and gone. They'll be gone soon. They'll make a little bit of money. They'll invest in the club and then go. I never thought that Enoch were going to be someone that were going to lead us to success. 20 years later, our profile has done very well. We've done wonderful pre-season tours to North America and to the Far East, and that's just been wonderful. But we haven't got close to winning anything. And the thing is that Daniel Levy is quite happy for us to be in the Champions League. He doesn't care about us winning it. He wants us to be in the top 4 because that's where the prize money is. Mm-hmm. But the difference between finishing second in the Premier League and finishing first in the Premier League, in reality, in regards to take that next step up, is going to take a huge investment in regards to bringing in the players that can elevate your team. It may only be 2 players. It could be a Virgil van Dijk and an Alisson, for example.
Yeah.
But that's 140, 150 million quid. But Daniel Levy's never going to do that. He's never going to take that next step up. Why? Because the prize money, if you're finishing first, it's not worth me spending 150 million quid on those 2 players that could win us the Premier League, because I'm not going to get that prize money back. The prize money is not going to compensate me for it. So he's in it for the business. He's never got any problems buying up property. I think as a club, we probably own more property in the UK than any other club in the Premier League. But no, he's fully in it for business and for profile. I don't think he actually cares all that much about success. If he happens to stumble across some success, I'm sure he'd be delighted. But he looked at Pochettino, the best manager he had in his 20 years, or what would have been his 20 years. He sacked him because Pochettino had made it clear, I can't stop this club from sliding backwards because this squad is dead. This squad is dead on its feet. It has been here too long. My messages, my purpose, everything that I'm trying to do has gone completely stale because this squad have heard it time and time and time again. I need to out these players and bring in new players. You've got to let me do that. So instead of doing that, because that's expensive, instead of doing that, you'll bring in Jose Mourinho, who will cost you £15 million a year. And because Jose Mourinho is a magician, he's amazing. He's the manager that Daniel Levy tried to get back in 2003. He went after Jose Mourinho, thought that he could come in and be that win now manager, and he was anything but. So it's it doesn't surprise me that Daniel Levy apparently is absolutely desperate to get Pochettino back. Yeah. Absolutely desperate to get Pochettino back. So no, I don't believe that we're going to win a title until Enoch had gone. So Arsenal, 100% Arsenal.
All right, fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'm gonna get to these comments before we wrap up. More big up. This is not myself, by the way. This is Matt. Hope you know that. I'm not just writing for myself. That'd be kind of awkward. I like the Brazilian Maestro nickname. That's kind of cool. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I like it. All right. I don't want to be competing with Fred for anything because I think he'd beat me at most things in life. So please take that comparison out. Yes, very special show tomorrow about French football. We're going to have Antoine that's going to be participating. Mathieu, good friend of ours as well. You've seen him before here. Okay, all right. Cause good stream. You and Rich done well. See, people like us, Rich. People
Thank
like
you.
us.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Should ask your boss for a pay rise after this stream. You are reading this, Matt. Matt's not my boss. We're partners. Yeah. Plus a pay raise from zero. Like that's very easy to do. If he sends me a peanut, that's fine. That's a raise right there. All right, dude. Thank you so much. Like this has been
No,
phenomenal. Like you're
thank you.
absolutely awesome. I'm surprised you're not on YouTube more often because it's really cool. Like most people, you ask them a question like, "Oh, who do you think's gonna win first?" They'd be like, "Yo, I think Tottenham's gonna win." That's all. That's how that's how far people can develop.
I don't think
So
that I don't think I've ever been accused of not having something to say. I think gobshite is the term. So yeah, but thank you very much. I've never done anything like this at all before. So it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
I don't think anyone could pick up on the fact that it's your first time. Like this was phenomenal, and I can tell from the short time that we've spent together, like chatting, I can tell
Mhm.
that you're like you don't have a hard time talking about anything.
I'm
We've
glad you did.
connected on multiple levels, by the way. We talk about psych, we talk about community, like we like our
Yeah,
shows.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but dude, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm gonna give you the full room here if you want to shout out where people can find you so that they can follow you on Twitter. I'm sure
Cross
people are gonna be seeing you here. No?
at Clever Clogs, double V, double G, but that's about it. I have no intention of anybody finding me. Okay. I'm perfectly okay not being easily found. That's my Twitter handle at Clever Clogs, double V, double G, and that's that. Thank you.
All right, guys. Yeah, you're definitely going to be seeing him again. He's a good friend of mine, and we had a great time doing this. So I'm sure we're going to be doing plenty of stuff together. But thank you so much for staying with us. 6 people still watching right now, even though we stayed for 70 minutes almost. Hit the like, share, subscribe if you haven't yet. And yeah, thank you so much. Stay tuned to Football United TV tomorrow. Again, Football United Airways, very cool show in France, right? And Thursday and Friday with our United and our Arsenal show. Okay, so let me find the outro here. All right, guys, thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you very much.